This morning, following an extensive and comprehensive investigation by the Vancouver Police detectives in my division, Crown Counsel of the Public Prosecution Service of Canada has approved 7 charges against a member of the Vancouver Police Department relating to breach of trust, theft, and drug offences. Constable Neil Logan, police identification number 2787, has been charged with the following offences related to on-duty conduct: 2 counts of breach of trust, 2 counts of theft, and 1 count of possession of a controlled substance. In addition, Crown Counsel has approved the following charges for offences committed off-duty: 1 count of theft and 1 count of possession of a controlled substance. Our investigation into Mr. Logan began in May of 2020, following a workplace incident. The investigation led detectives to several different leads that uncovered additional concerns that needed to be investigated. During the process, our detectives also began an investigation to one of Mr. Logan's associates. As a result, 20-year-old Surrey resident Dilpreet Cooner has been charged with 4 offences related to drug trafficking. Additionally, Mr. Logan has been suspended under Section 110 of the Police Act and is no longer an active member of the department, as he's been suspended pending an investigation and subsequent hearing. I want the public to know and take comfort that the Vancouver Police Department takes the issue of criminal conduct by any officer seriously. We acted as soon as we identified suspicious circumstances involving Mr. Logan. Although the offences Mr. Logan has been charged with may seem minor to some, to me, the seriousness of the matter lies in the fact that they involve a police officer and that 5 of the 7 offences happened while the member was on duty. This is completely unacceptable. The public expects and deserves better conduct by police officers, so does the Vancouver Police Department. I'm very disappointed by the conduct of this one member, but I want Vancouver residents to know that this sort of investigation is very rare. However, if any hint of criminal activity is identified, it is investigated fully. Every day I see exceptional conduct by our hundreds of sworn members working in all 3 of our divisions. They're proud to serve Vancouver, and the safety of the residents of this city is their top priority. Although I'm limited in what I can say, as this matter is now with Crown Counsel, I can do my best to answer your questions.
David Molko with CTV News here. I wondered if you could elaborate a bit on the workplace incident that sparked the investigation. What was that about?
I'm not able to elaborate. It did occur as you know, on duty. And it was at that point that we looked at it from a workplace or a wellness perspective, and that it, as a result of the initial inquiries, it evolved into a criminal matter. But that's all I'm really at liberty to say.
And Chief, when was the constable suspended from duty, or were there different stages he went through given the investigation started last May and here we are in January?
He was placed on administrative leave at the time this incident occurred and was suspended at the time of arrest, which was January 5th. He was suspended. Sorry, just one thing, Deputy Chief, thank you for the promotion, though. He was suspended under Section 110 of the Police Act, and as a result of that, we would implement that based on the ongoing criminal investigation that was underway.
Deputy Chief, and then I'll let anyone else jump in here. I know you said you were disappointed in the alleged actions of one member, but what words would you choose? I know you can't speak to the specifics of the alleged behavior and what was done here, but what words would you choose to characterize how this officer allegedly acted, what he allegedly did?
The word I would use is reprehensible. It undermines the trust of the citizens we serve, and no one would expect a police officer to behave in this manner.
And does this investigation extend to other officers and the behavior of other officers? Is it ongoing? How would you characterize that?
How would I characterize it? With respect to this specific matter, we are continuing our investigation, and we'll see where it leads us, but it doesn't appear that there's any other Vancouver police officers that were involved.
Hi, this is Matt Robinson from Vancouver Sun. Can you tell me why Logan was not suspended following his earlier complaints about assaulting people?
The matter was under investigation. I believe the matters were under investigation under the Police Act. So we have to operate or act in accordance with the Police Act. So if he wasn't suspended, we weren't in a position to do so.
Is the VPD involved in any point that continuing to look into this assault?
Which assault are you referring to?
His former girlfriend and the gentleman that he was attending to on call?
No, we're not conducting those investigations. They've been investigated with the one involving the call has been investigated already under the Police Act, and the other investigation has already been investigated. And I believe it went to a public hearing.
Has Logan faced any prior allegations beyond those two and these deaths?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Deputy Chief Rankin, Ramina Dea from Global Television. Hi there. Can you explain the suspension? Does that mean that Mr. Logan is suspended with pay currently?
Yes, Ramina. It means that he's suspended with pay as of January 5th. There's a process, as I'm sure you're familiar with, where there's 30-day period has to elapse before the Chief and Police Board can make a determination as to whether that suspension can be without pay. In any event, the criminal matter has to run its course. Then the subsequent Police Act investigation will have to run its course before any further action can be taken by the department.
How many chances does an officer have to get before he reaches a point where he's no longer worthy of serving with the department? When you look at Mr. Logan's track record, it dates back years as far as allegations of abuse of power, in the Kachuk case, the former girlfriend, what happened in the United States, and now these current charges. I mean, how many chances does a person have to get?
Well, it all depends on the offense and then the punishment under the Police Act that can be meted out. And I think that the point you're making, Ramina, is not lost on me or other police officers, and I believe that the province is undertaking a review of, among other things, the Police Act, so it could address those issues, hopefully in the future.
Address them in what way? What do you mean? In order to give the police department more power to act, to do something when you've got this kind of conduct that is allegedly happening?
Well, not necessarily the police, because we're operating under the Police Act and we're basically conducting investigations under the supervision of the Office of Police Complaints Commission. But in the cases that you're referring to, that would really make it, we'd really have to have changes where the Office of Police Complaints Commission would be able to, potentially be able to have greater enforcement, or if you're suggesting that we are letting people go or firing them, then that would have to be, changes may have to be made in that legislation. But Ramina, I've spent 4.5 months in our professional standards section, so it'd probably be a question best directed towards the Office of Police Complaints Commission.
As the deputy chief, though, Mr. Rankin, having to stand before the public today and talk about this officer, here's, again, it's another thing on a long list with this officer. This has got to be embarrassing for you.
Yes, it is.
And is Mr. Logan connected to a gang?
No.
He is not?
No.
Okay. And I know you said off the top with one of my colleagues there that you can't elaborate, but clearly we're talking about serious allegations, a person in public trust. The public has a right to know some of the details here. I realize that before the court, but clearly there would have been a narrative that would have got to the court to the point where they could actually, to the prosecution service where they could actually lay charges. Can you not expand on a little bit about what the allegations are that happened to lead to these charges of breach of trust, the drugs, these kinds of things happening allegedly on duty?
Right. No, I can't. Sorry. Unfortunately, Ramina, I'm not in a position to do so as the matter is before Crown.
But you can, though. You can at least tell us what led to the charges being laid.
Well, what led to it was...
You have a narrative of what happened.
There was an incident at work that initiated a work-safe investigation, and that evolved into a criminal investigation, and over the course of approximately 9 months, evidence was collected by my investigators that met the threshold for charge approval. But Ramina, I'm not going to get into the details of the investigation or any more information in terms of investigative strategies or the evidence that we collected.
And lastly, Deputy Chief, why should the public have any confidence in police service when, as I said, you see someone, this constable, it's one constable, but you see this person getting chance after chance after chance over several years with what are very serious alleged incidents?
Sorry, Ramina, so your suggestion is why should people have confidence in the police?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's over 1,300 Vancouver police officers who attend thousands of calls, over the course of a year. We're looking at hundreds of thousands of calls. I've been doing this job for 33 years. I can count on two hands the number of police officers that I would suggest cause me concern as much as Mr. Logan. And with all the other police officers that are performing exemplary on a daily basis, I can assure you that those that do stand out, those that are breaking the law, that come to my attention, are addressed with as expeditiously as possible, and we work within the laws that we have, whether it's the Police Act or the Criminal Code.
Hi there, it's Karen Larson from CBC News. Can you tell me how long Logan has been a VPD officer, please?
He was hired in April of 2009. He was an exemption officer after having served 2 years of service with the Edmonton Police Service.
Okay, thanks. There was the line about his associate also being charged. Can you just expand on that relationship? How is this other person his associate? How were they associated?
They were associated through transactions that occurred during the course of this investigation. And that's all I'm going to say.
Illegal transaction?
Well, he's been charged, so yes.
Are you able to say what the substance is that's in question here?
I believe they've already been formally laid in the charges, but I'm not going to say what they are at this time.
Okay, and so my last thing is I just want to understand here, because I understand there was 4 charges related to something that happened in March of 2014 that were sworn in November of 2020. So is this the 4th time that this officer has been in charge? Has had, conflict with the law? I mean, there was the one with his girlfriend, there was the one with the engineer. Now there's these 4 charges that were sworn in November 2020 from March 2014, and then this one?
That's correct.
Okay, do you know anything about the March 2014 incident and why he was charged with assault and uttering threats?
Yes, so that matter came to investigators' attention in June of this year, and it was determined that it occurred in, I believe it was a Surrey. So the investigators notified the Surrey RCMP and immediately, and conduct of that investigation was initiated by the Surrey RCMP.
And can you describe, is that a domestic incident or is that?
Yes, I believe it is, Karen.
Okay. All right, thanks very much.
You're welcome. Next question.
Hello, Chief Rankin. It's Tom Sajaric at the Surrey Now Leader. I'm hopping into this call a little late. I don't know if you covered it or not. I'm just wondering if you can flesh out the nature of the relationship of Delpreet Cooner with this investigation and the officer Logan, and what exactly he's been charged with the 4 offenses.
Mr. Cooner has been charged with drug-related offenses, and I would just simply say that the investigation revealed that Mr. Cooner and Mr. Logan dealt with one another on a number of occasions.
Okay, can you say what the charges are exactly?
Yep. It would be possession of a controlled substance and related to trafficking.
Okay, trafficking in what kind of drug?
I don't have that information at this time.